Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the AM show. Judea Hartley here. Happy Wednesday. All right, you guys, I am super stoked for today's incredible guest. He is a breakthrough coach who really specializes in just changing the lives, right, of so many people who are dealing with how to answer their calling, how to fulfill their purpose, what to do when they are at a crossroads. And I have to say that Taylor Nardone's content has helped save my life several times, a little bit too many to count, and I have just been a huge supporter, big fan, consistent follower of all of his videos, his reels, his empowering messages. I promise you, if you want to start the day off right, you gotta go head over to Instagram and look at one of Taylor's videos to incorporate in your daily devotion. He is the one and only breakthrough coach. So, my brothers and sisters, without further ado, would you please welcome my new friend, Mr. Taylor Nardone?
Oh my goodness, hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Taylor.
I received this today. I received this energy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So, you guys, like before we get into the interview, I had the pleasure, the opportunity to chat with Taylor via, I believe it was Zoom or Google Meet, just to prep for the interview. And when I saw you, Taylor, and I felt your energy in that Zoom meeting, I just became even more excited. Our energies really, really matched. They coincided. They gelled well together. Just this bubbly sense of peace and happiness and unity that you represent. So with all that being said, I just want to say that I am grateful. I am grateful that you carved out time out of your busy schedule to join me live today for the AM show. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. You know what? Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be here. I've been looking forward to this. And I agree, Judea, we have a good friendship coming because you and I, we are the same person, I think, in many ways. So when we connected, you guys, it was just perfect divine timing. And it's just an honor to be here with you guys today. So thank you.
Yes. Oh, God. Okay, Taylor, I'm excited. So I'm going to go right into the meat of this sandwich. Now, I love that you identify yourself as a breakthrough coach. And you do that well, by the way. But for all of our friends and family who may not know what a breakthrough coach is or what a breakthrough coach does, please, Taylor, just really dive into that pool by explaining what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? It's so interesting. I mean, first of all, God works in the most beautiful, mysterious ways. And when I first started life coaching, right, about a year and a half ago, I didn't even know what to call it at the time. I think I called it just general life coaching. And as time went on, I realized the people that were coming to me were ready for a personal or professional breakthrough. So what they're doing is most people are ready to kind of release and remove the old in their life, old conditioned patterns, old ways, old beliefs, and fully step into this new version of themselves and perhaps their passion and purpose. So my job is to kind of bridge that gap for them and take them across that big leap. And so that's really what I do as a breakthrough coach, but it's amazing too, because I have so many different folks that come to me, which is incredible, right? So it's a little bit different for everyone, but I do find that most of us are seeking that next chapter, that next level. So it's always an honor to be able to bring people there.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I was scrubbing your socials, as I always do, because I always find something so encouraging there all the time, it never fails. I in my head, I'm like, okay, so for me, Taylor basically serves as the liaison between where someone is, right, and where they want to be. It's almost like, okay, so Taylor serves as that beautiful, insightful bridge in terms of directing us on how to discover our passion or how to answer our calling. Because before we know where we're going to go, we got to know who we are. Ooh! Don't start.
Grab that soundbite.
I'm
That
saying
was the one.
Really, Taylor, before we know, okay, where we going to go? Where we going to go? No, hold on, brother. Hold on, sister. You got to know who you are. So I want to start with that, if you don't mind, identity. Because you really help people in that regard, if you ask me. Identity. How important is identity in someone's life? How important is it for someone to realize who they are and whose they are?
Absolutely. Ooh, yes. Yes to all of that. You know, it's everything. And I was just in Panama City Beach in Florida this past weekend giving a presentation on this. And I call this a journey back home. Right? And a lot of this is that journey back home also within ourselves. So I think, you know, many times for many people, we have these beliefs, right? These kind of conditioned patterns that were never really ours to begin with, that we've taken on. And so part of this process is kind of looking and saying, well, what did I accept? And what is now the truth that I'm choosing to accept about who I truly am? What are the desires on my heart? What are the gifts that I have? And how do I let my soul kind of come to the front of the line and lead the pack rather than these old ways that I have? So long story short, yes, it is absolutely imperative to kind of get back to that core place of who you are and let that start to lead the way. And what I always tell folks is you don't have to wait till things show up in your life to live it. You get to live it now, right? So for many people, it's such an act and such a form of liberation to go through this process and this work.
Oh my gosh, I love wow, Taylor, I just got lost. I forgot the cameras were rolling. I got lost because I'm listening to you, my friend, and Taylor, it's so right. You just mentioned we have to almost like dissect what we've been taught and what's actually true about ourselves. And what I find is that so many people, family, friends, spouses, they don't, maybe you do realize, maybe you don't, but our self-esteem gets destroyed when we are in relationship with the wrong people. So it's almost, it's seriously, like your relationship can really be destroyed. So it's almost this process of breaking down all of this toxicity and debris that was bestowed onto you by the wrong person and really going on this self-discovery, this self-love discovery journey to find out all of those things, those were lies. This is who you really are. I love that. So if you can define in your own way, what is purpose?
Ooh. This is my favorite question.
Ooh, okay.
And I have to tell you, I have an answer that makes people kind of tilt their head a little bit. So hear me out on this one.
Okay.
I believe that in this life, you are going to have many different things that God uses you for.
Yeah.
Okay? The purpose, therefore, is you, because you are the vessel. So returning back to oneself, how God created you, right? And all of the gifts that he's given you and living that every day, that is the purpose. And then going out and giving, right? And serving and being of service. You know, here's the thing, this process of breakthrough, and this is what I love working on with people, it fills up your soul so that you can then go out and do the work that needs to be done in the world. That's what this is. So I always say that, you know, I don't believe that we're meant to be mopped up across the floor, right? Fill up your soul, feel that beautiful essence of that divine spirit within you, and then go out and be of service, right? And so what that requires is recognizing, oh my gosh, you know what? I actually do have to take care of myself. I do have to check in with myself. How is my mind, body, soul doing, right? So the purpose, right? You are going to be used for many different things, many purposeful things, but the purpose really is you and within.
Yes, 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 100 times over. Let me tell you, Taylor, I am currently reading, because I'm a nerd, I like to read about 2 books a month if I can do so. So I'm currently reading Sarah Jakes Roberts' Power Moves, her book. And she went on the tour. I saw her, the book tour. I went to King's Theater, saw her in person, the whole 9. And Sarah Jakes Roberts has a parallel definition of purpose to yours. And yes, that's what I'm saying, Taylor, you are on fire. She was on the Tamron Hall show.
I love it.
Yeah, she was on the Tamron Hall show, Today's Show, Jenna and Hoda, all of the things promoting her book. And she said, you guys, I don't think that, like, we are born for one specific purpose. That's not, and I was like, okay, let me hear her out. And she said, no, I know this may be, uneasy, contrary to popular belief. We are purpose, and we bring value to the assignments that are given to us. And I said, whoa. I was like, got it. So she's saying, no, 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 you are born worthy. You are born powerful. No, you are born purposeful. But the assignment, Taylor's assignment, being a breakthrough coach, my assignment, being a pastor and being a morning talk show host, you bring value to the assignments. I get that. I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. And you know what, let me say too, well, first of all, I'm going to have to check her out because I love that. Yes. And I felt that so much at the beginning of my journey. It was this notion of, oh my goodness, God's going to use me wherever I go.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's really powerful too. And it's so liberating because I think sometimes we're all looking for this box. There's no box.
Yeah.
We break out of one box, we want to find the next one. It is an ever-flowing stream.
Yeah.
It just keeps on flowing and going, and you will always continue to evolve on the journey, and that's the best part. So if you can get used to the fact that you're always arriving somewhere and yet always departing, it is so rewarding.
I love that, arriving and departing. I love that. Ooh, seasons, transitions. Okay, I'm here for it. Okay, so Taylor, I'm curious, because you're doing a great work, when did you realize, what was that pivotal turning point in your life where you realize, you know what, I'm gonna stop doing whatever it is that I'm doing because this is not fulfilling me, and I'm going to become a breakthrough coach. So I want to know when, this is almost like a two-part question. When did you realize you were meant to be a breakthrough coach, and what does a day-to-day routine, a regular Thursday look like in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my journey it's been wild. I will tell you that I've documented the entire journey. I've been on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube for quite a few years now, but I used to document my journey as a teacher, right? So about 2 years ago, I actually had, God kind of called me on this life of adventure, and I had a very big kind of personal and spiritual awakening. And so I actually left my job as a teacher, as a tenured teacher, and I loved what I did, but I felt this call to leap. I didn't know what I was going to land into, but it was a blank canvas. So I actually spent, 2022 into 2023, I just call it kind of existing. I worked at a local restaurant. I had a great time flipping some pancakes and, serving them. And it just so naturally flowed into coaching. I always say that I was having these conversations filling the syrup, right? And then I started posting some of these inspirational messages online, and all I can explain it as is it was very intuitive. It was around March of 2023. I said, I think I'm ready to start coaching. And I launched it in May of 2023, and we haven't looked back since, and kind of allowed it to evolve. So it has been beautiful, and I truly love it. And in terms of the day-to-day life, it does vary based upon when I have clients, and I'm so honored and privileged to get to serve, clientele, thank you for technology, right, around the world. So I have clients in Australia, New Zealand, or Japan. So sometimes the hours get a little bit funky for me over here on the East Coast. But typically I usually have clients from about 12 to 8 p.m. Not every hour, but that's when I would have clients. The morning is for myself. I love a good slow morning, and now working for myself, that's something I get to kind of have, which I enjoy. But the afternoon, I typically have clients. I love to go live and kind of nourish some beautiful souls and folks online when I can. And right now, it's kind of an exciting place because I'm starting to take on some speaking engagements. So I think life is going to continue to present me with a bit of an adventure. So that's what it looks like at the moment, but we'll see in about 3 months.
Yes, and I saw on your Instagram that you actually just had your first in-person, I believe, speaking engagement. Taylor, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, tell us about it.
Oh my gosh. First of all, it was just so divine leading up to it as well. And I just couldn't stop crying before I went on stage. It wasn't even about myself, but I was in this room with these incredible women, this group called 4X for Women. And I was sitting in that room and I was listening to how so many of their lives had changed financially, and they're all involved in personal development. And I just was so thankful in that moment to be in that space, to have the opportunity to go up and present. And my presentation was called From Fear to Freedom. And it's kind of the culmination of the work that I do, some of the things we've talked about. And it was just amazing. It was amazing. I got to go down to Panama City Beach, give me a palm tree, I'm good to go. So it was beautiful, and I'm still kind of coming off of that joyous weekend.
I love that. From fear to freedom. I want to talk a little bit about that in the second part of the interview, because we'd be so surprised how many people currently are paralyzed by fear. And I also want to comment on you, Taylor, knowing that it was time to transition out of your teacher role, tenured teacher future. That's a huge deal. I always say that, you know, Taylor, I really believe certain things are a blessing until they aren't anymore. And just because your expiration date has come, it doesn't mean that you bash the place you were in or bash your stepping stool or bash that experience. No, no, no. You were grateful for the experience. You really magnified and maximized your skills and your time and your resources while you were there. But it is time to transition and move forward. And the baby, hear this conceptually, the baby will die if you don't push. If you don't push.
Love that. Yes. And it's so true. And you know what? That's how I kind of viewed my time as an educator. I loved it. Oh my God. I was a music teacher, hot cross buns, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we had a good time. It was so much fun. But when it was time to go, you know, it's almost that internal GPS that we have. Right? You can always feel it. And so you just have to listen to it. And so it's that whisper before it's a boulder.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the challenge we kind of step into. So beyond that fear, there was some immense excitement, curiosity, wonder, you know? And so having moved through that, you know, now I feel a lot more able to move through those different chapters. And that's kind of what I bring people through as well, which is great.
I love that. Those experiences really prepared you to become the breakthrough coach that you are right now. Oh, fantastic. We are just going to take a quick commercial break, everybody, but please stick and stay. We want your face in the place. Grab a snack and come right back because we have so much more coming up with Mr. Taylor Nardone, the one and only breakthrough coach, right after these messages. Keep it locked, everybody. You're watching The AM Show. There he is, Mr. Taylor Nardone, my new good friend, the one and only breakthrough coach. He is joining back. Welcome back to the show, Taylor.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor.
Oh, yes. Okay, you guys. So we are about to dive into the second portion of this interview. Prior to the interview, Taylor was really just telling us about his out-of-town speaking engagement, just really presenting the synopsis on From Fear to Freedom. Now, Taylor, I have to ask you, why is it so hard for people to get their breakthrough? In your experience, what really hinders them from getting to the other side?
You know, Jude, it's such a good question. And I have to tell you, one of the best books that I've read on my journey, and actually I had a good friend that recommended it to me, it's called The Big Leap. And Gay Hendricks, the author, talks about how we all aspire to get to our zone of genius, right? This place of untapped potential. And I kind of describe it as only you can do what you do the way you do it. And so he also talks about 4 different distinct pillars that actually hold us back from getting to be where we want to be. And I actually think that the number one reason what kind of holds us back when we think about kind of ascending to that new place in that new chapter is actually the fear that we're going to be left behind on the journey, or we're going to be abandoned. We're abandoning other people, right? Because sometimes these new breakthroughs and these new areas we want to head into, we go, what about my old life? What about my old people? We want connection. We want community, right? So for a lot of people, there is a fear that it's actually going to separate us, right? And then we have some other fears there. Of course, there's a little bit of that fear of failure, definitely a fear of success. Can I trust myself at that level? Can I trust myself with more money? So there's definitely some hidden barriers, I think, that people don't recognize that they're holding on to, and they kind of pull themselves back a bit.
Wow. Taylor, you didn't have to tell all my business. That's so true. It's like we're praying for these blessings, Taylor, and then when God gives them to us, it's beautiful and exciting, but scary. At the same time, it's like, oh my God, everything changed, and it changed so quickly. So I understand that the fear of being left behind or just stepping into the unfamiliar. Do you remember a time in your life, Taylor, when you were low? I mean, low, and you needed a breakthrough? If so, describe that time and explain to us, how did you receive your personal breakthrough?
Absolutely. And I will tell you, to everybody listening right now, if you are struggling and you are feeling that the absence of hope, powerless, all of that fear, you're typically right on the cusp of that breakthrough. Okay? Because think about it this way. If I had, let's say it was a rubber wall or anything, right? And I'm pushing my hand through, the most resistance comes right before you literally break through. You're going to feel the most resistance. So, I would say actually right before I had left my job as an educator, and again, I love that job, but towards the end, it got really difficult because I knew that it was time to go. Yeah. My spirits were low. I was working nearly 7 days a week. I was getting my master's at the same time. Then I had to pay for it. It was a whole thing. And to be honest with you, I actually had to sit and I had to listen, and it was uncomfortable, and I had to listen to, what am I truly feeling? I keep trying to avoid it. I keep trying to add some more chaos. No, what am I truly feeling? And C.S. Lewis has one of my favorite quotes of all time. He says, don't look at me, look at where I'm pointing. Ooh. And I really had to sit and go, wait a second, where is God pointing me? Ooh. Have I even accepted where he's pointing me? And that's the hardest thing. Sometimes we even reject the vision, right? Just even look in that direction. And then I said, okay. And once I accepted that, I had to meet myself A to B. And that's how I started to walk the journey. But before breakthrough, it's the most resistance. So there's a message of hope there for anyone that's feeling that today.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Taylor, that message was for me, because if I can be candid, that's where I am right now. It's like I'm battling with the knowing that I have purpose, that I am purpose rather, and that, there are plans for my life, and I'm battling up against, where I am now and where I want to be, and me just really conjuring up the strength to believe. Does that make sense? The strength to, the strength to believe. Like me having the strength and the confidence and the praise and the hope for so long. And then just my flesh just really being exhausted. I understand that. I really, that's where I am right now. And it really makes me think of healing, because I do want you to explain the breakthrough process, because you're so right that there is a process to that. So I'm going to ask this question in two parts. Please describe the breakthrough process and what that looks like. And if you can define healing, from your perspective, from your experience, what is healing?
It's a phenomenal question. And let me tell you, I like to use a visual for this. So I want you to think about it this way. In terms of healing, it's like climbing up a mountain, and you don't even realize that the luggage you have every piece of clothing that you've ever worn in your entire life that you're holding on to. Healing is finally saying, oh, I can put that down.
Wow.
I can release that. I can let that go. And in doing that, there's a process for all of this, right? So I view the breakthrough and the healing, they're very synonymous, right? Because you have to let go. And I always say that new chapter, it's a blank canvas. You get to paint the new picture. And the problem we have is we're trying to paint a new picture, and we have so many layers of paint that get a new canvas. It's okay. Making peace with the past so that you alleviate any future anxiety is key. So I tend to work with folks in kind of 4 distinct areas, right? We start off with rewiring the mind, so we can actually take stock and look at what are those beliefs we're still holding on to. So many of them are unconscious. We don't even realize how we're thinking about money, opportunity, right? So we have to kind of consciously look at that. So there's a rewiring of the mind, but then we start to do the healing process. We go within. We do some of that shadow work, which is kind of pulling out those unconscious pieces of ourselves that we kind of need to bring to light. But then we also go through the process of forgiveness. Okay? When you have not forgiven someone, you are holding weight, and it gets heavier and heavier, and you don't realize it till you let it go. So I use some different powerful, tools and practices to help people go through that process. But then the fun part is actually getting to what is that next level, because Judea, here's the issue that I find so many people have. We're letting an unhealed part of us lead the pack, and they're going, of course I'm crashing into the trees. I don't know how to drive. Their time is done. They just want to watch the journey now. So who is the next version of you that's being birthed? And when you step into those shoes, how can you fail? They're already there. So what we do is we connect the dots to that version of you that's trying to come out. And there you go. You meet yourself A to B, and you kind of continue to walk through the process, right? So that, I would say, that is the foundation of the breakthrough.
Wow. I'm stunned. I love interviews that don't feel like interviews, Taylor. I like interviews that feel like conversations, that feel like healing conversations. And this is absolutely what I'm experiencing right now with you. I think that we can have an emotional soul tie to the unhealed version of ourselves, right? To what we're used to what is no longer. to what is no longer, loving and losing in different capacities, breakup, grief, etc., estranged relationships. Like, I've been there, and you almost are so dedicated to that old version of you that you've created this soul tie, and the soul tie is prohibiting the healed version of you to come forth and drive the vehicle. So true. I know that the breakthrough process involves, really just helps us in regards to how we show up in relationships. So with that I mean, you really do, Taylor. You help so many people. With that being said, what, in your experience, what is the biggest mistake that folks make in romantic or platonic relationships?
You know what? I think the biggest thing is, honestly, it's a lack of communication.
Yeah.
Right. And when you start to build up a level of frustration with whether it's a partner, whether it's a friendship, whether it's family. I mean, if we're talking even breakthrough as well, think about those difficult conversations you have to have with family. When I talk to my family, and I love my family, when I talk to them about what I was planning on doing, leaving my job, it was going, oh my God, well, what are you going to do, right? There was this panic. So I think there needs to be, number one, open communication. Number two, a level of understanding of who you're speaking to and what they've experienced. Everyone is doing their best out here. And whether they show it or not, everyone is doing their best because we all have different stories. I used to pass people in college, and my friends and I, we used to always say, whenever we'd walk by someone in the supermarket, we'd say, what do you think their story is?
Yeah.
So humanizing other people and recognizing we all have a story.
Yeah.
Everybody has a story. And so you can kind of see why people respond in certain ways. So even for folks that are thinking about taking a big leap in their life, right? And you're getting a little bit concerned about talking to a loved one or anybody in your life because they might not understand. They may not, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to convince them. They'll come around. Own your truth and walk in your light, right? And it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to defend yourself or this and that. You can just, you kind of just take it. You can look at it and take it all with a grain of salt and understand that people aren't inside your head, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said just really, just in our day-to-day routine, looking at people and going, I know they have a story. I remember when I was going through a deep period of grief, and I would just go do normal things, walk in the park, go get some gas, go to the grocery store. And I remember, Taylor, like paying for my groceries and seeing a bunch of people behind me online and thinking, if these people only knew how deeply I was hurting, how deeply I was hurting in that moment. Like, so when you say people are doing their best, it's so true. It's so true how deeply, like, people are trying in that moment, how much they need help in different areas. It's so true. It's so true that healing process. Healing is messy, not linear. That breakthrough process, really just deciding that you aren't going to be paralyzed by fear and that you deserve liberty. You deserve access to freedom, and that experience in itself, it's so true. It's so true. And I love that you mentioned earlier, sorry, that just touched me.
It's beautiful.
You mentioned earlier about self-care and really just taking care of yourself. I struggle with that, and I'm doing more of that now. What are some forms of self-care, Taylor, that you do for yourself?
Yeah. Well, first of all, sometimes we have a hammer on our back, right? So we're always trying to get to this next level of perfection. And as we know, at this point, there's no arrival point, which is so beautiful. I always say, again, you're always arriving, you're always departing. So sometimes even taking that hammer mentally off our back and thinking we have to be any certain way, it's like, okay, I'm going to meet myself where I am. But I always like to think about healing and not even healing, but that self-care piece as, I had someone say to me once, they said, it's like 3 different horses. You have mind, body, and soul. And when you're not caring for one of the horses, it's a little bit trickier. The other 2 have to work a little bit harder. Now, if you're not caring for 2 of them, one of them really has to work hard. But what happens if you're not caring for all 3? So I make sure to get some physical activity in every day. It really is simple, right? That physical activity, but also what I would encourage everyone to do, especially after a work day, have a buffer time in between work and home, whether you work from home or you're out wherever the office is, right? Having that buffer time where you can properly unwind is key. And I'm a big fan of having kind of an oasis for myself that's actually outside of my house, right? So I have this beautiful, I live by the water, I'm so lucky. So I have this beautiful beach that I head to nearby, and I just sit there, even if it's 15 or 20 minutes, and I feel recentered. So whether it's a spot outside or somewhere that you can go that just grounds you, that's everything. Because even 15, 20 minutes there, oh my gosh, it just brings you back home to yourself and you feel whole again, right? And that's everything. So I think some small basic changes, again, sometimes we like to find the newest thing, but it really is just small changes that can really help us and compound over time.
Yeah, it's so true, so true. And I really do believe that those changes enable us to develop confidence. What piece of advice would you give to someone, Taylor, who is struggling in their self-esteem? How do we gain confidence?
Well, let me tell you, I'm going to say two things here. And I'm going to say the first thing is look back at your life. Everyone listening right now, look back at your life, look at your track record, and list all of the things that just happened to work out for you, even when you didn't feel like you were enough.
Yeah.
So clearly, that's not a prerequisite for us to have our needs met, which is so beautiful. But the second piece of it, confidence, is trust within ourselves. So that's follow through. So even if you are making small changes in your day-to-day life, if you say, I'm going to start going to the gym 3 days a week, it doesn't matter what you do there. If you follow through on that and you start going, you are building confidence in yourself because you trust yourself. But if I say I'm going to do something and then I know I'm not actually going to do it, how can I trust myself? So that confidence is really foundational. It's built from the bottom up. It doesn't matter, what accolades you have or achievements. It is really saying, you know what? I'm going to follow through on this and I can trust myself to do that. And that is a snowball effect that just grows over time.
I love that. I love that so much. I know I have to let you go in about a minute or so. Wow, this has been healing. I'm trying not to mess up my makeup further. They've been so kind. Thank you guys. This is healing for me. But Taylor, I just want you to leave our viewers with this. One, I want you to give a brief piece of advice to someone who is feeling stuck. Two, I want you to tell us the passion projects that you're working on, anything, just anything, because whatever you touch turns to gold, anything that you're working on that's coming up. And three, if you can leave us with your socials, tell everybody where they can find you.
Absolutely. My goodness. So to anyone feeling powerless, hopeless, that's just in that place of darkness, I will tell you, the visual I had at the beginning of my journey with all of this, it was just a little flame that appeared in the darkness. It takes one flame in the darkness to light your way. Just look for the glimmer, look for that flame. And the staircase is going to feel dark, but once you take the first step, the next one will appear. So I would encourage you right now in this moment to just figure out and identify what is your A to B. Your next step. For everyone, that's going to be different, but that's going to give you a beacon of hope. And I promise, as you start to see the glimmers, it's like the shiny new car syndrome. You see that new car you want everywhere, it's going to build and grow in your life, because now those are the seeds that you're watering. In terms of the passion projects, I have a podcast. It's the Taylor Ryan Nardone podcast. And so I'm looking forward to filming the 3rd season of that. So I have that coming up, which I'm excited about. We're going to try and make it as professional as we can. And definitely have some fun speaking engagements that are starting to line up over the next year that I'm looking forward to. And in terms of my socials, I keep it super simple. All of my socials are Taylor Ryan Nardone. You can find me on TikTok. I try and go live Monday through Friday. You can find me on Instagram or on YouTube, and feel free to reach out or send me a message. I would love to connect with you.
I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for being the highlight of my morning. Thank you for agreeing to come on. Thank you for contributing greatly to my healing process right here, live on TV. Taylor, we are alike in many ways. You're so right. And I cannot wait to continue to build this sister and brotherhood with you. I'm absolutely flying out so we can meet in person and have lunch or dinner. But this is the start of a beautiful friendship, and I'm excited that I get to take this journey with you, my new friend. Why don't y'all show your love for Taylor? Come on, everybody, give it up.
Thank you.
Taylor, keep doing what you're doing. Keep infusing faith in your breakthrough process. You are touching more lives than you know, more lives than who's following you. Trust me. So thank you so much, and have a blessed, prosperous, impactful day.
Thank you. You as well, Jude. It was an absolute honor. Thank you for having me on, and we will talk so soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye. Incredible job. Incredible job, y'all. That's the one and only Taylor Nardone. Be sure to follow him on social media everywhere so you can get your breakthrough. All right, everybody, we're going to head on over to a quick commercial break, but don't you go anywhere because we're going to break through with some more segments coming up right here on the AM show. Stay tuned.